These audio recordings reflect the private and intimate lives of women who are open to sharing their experiences on the Salon Tales platform. The women who are receiving service in the videos are not the same as the voice recording. The idea is to be entertained while learning a skilled trade. These are, to the speaker's knowledge, true and real experiences.
Human composting is a situation where the body is lain with organic matter
Okay.
and then covered in soil. And what happens is it takes 6 months for the body to break down. Your body is eventually turned into soil as well.
Yes.
This is right now only happening in Washington. Legislation has been passed in California and 7 other states where this will be an option. So basically, it's a back to the earth type of philosophy where once your body is composted, then your family is offered a bag of soil, something like you would buy at a Home Depot or a gardening store. And that soil can be used in your garden or put out in nature. And it looks exactly like soil. It does not smell. It doesn't have anything. It's just the remains have been composted down with organic matter, so it turns into soil. That's one option. Another option is called aquamation.
Aquamation.
Which is water cremation.
Okay, and how does that work?
Now, the difference between water cremation and traditional cremation is with traditional cremation, there are 700 pounds of carbon that go up into the air. Ooh. With one body.
So pollution.
And when you have hundreds of thousands of people being cremated a year, now 70% of the population is now cremating. Even people who were not believers in cremation religiously are cremating now. So with 600 pounds of carbon, that's like driving a car, 600 miles to Michigan or something.
Yes.
But
do you think that cremation is starting to be like the number one way for people because of the less in cost?
I think that's part of it.
Okay.
And I will get into that a little bit more too, as far as burial goes. In 2030, there's a huge list of cemeteries that are slated to close because they're running out of space. So now with water cremation, which is also called aquamation, the body is put into a tank with a very high pH and also water.
Yes.
And the body basically dissolves down into nothing, into powder. And what happens is the water is actually okay enough to go down the drain into the streets. It's not drinkable, but it's not going to poison the environment at all.
Now, are you able to collect the remains from that, or does it disperse in the water?
What you are left with is bones.
Okay.
Those bones are then crushed into powder.
Yes.
And then that powder is given to the family.
All right.
Where they can, take it out and do away with it however they choose. That can be put into an urn. You can do a water burial like you do with cremains if you're interested.
Yes.
So that is an option as well.
Okay.
There is also it's called shroud burial.
Shroud burial?
Yes, natural burial. So instead of using a casket, because I believe it's every 8 months, there are 4 million miles of funeral wood put underground.
4 million miles.
And this is around the United States.
So this is across the country?
Yes.
Wow.
And that means in the ground is also going wooden handles, metal handles from caskets.
Yes.
Metal caskets. Okay. This stuff does not break down. It just stays in the ground. And it becomes a pollutant, basically. So with shroud burial, your body is taken and you are nude, you are not embalmed, and you are wrapped in a shroud. Now, a shroud is a big piece of muslin fabric.
Okay.
The ceremony in that is like you can buy your shroud ahead of time and you can have all your loved ones decorate it.
Yes.
You can paint it, you can draw on it, you can do beautiful things. You can also get custom shrouds if you'd like. So the body is wrapped in a shroud and you are laying in the ground that way.
Okay.
And the body decomposes that way. And the shroud is also a biodegradable substance.
So it's also good for the environment.
Yes. Whereas with traditional burial, when you have bodies embalmed, the embalming process leaks into the ground. as the body,
chemicals?
yes, the
Okay.
chemicals go into the ground as the body decomposes, which is a pollutant.
Okay.
So people need to understand too that you don't always need to embalm. That's another thing. I mean, you can have a refrigeration.
And see, many
Situation.
people don't know about that option, so you automatically think for a burial you have to embalm.
Yes, which you don't. You only have to embalm if you're taking a corpse across state lines.
Okay.
Other than that, you can just have your person put into the refrigerator.
Now,
And
is that in every state?
that's in every state.
Okay.
At least as I know of.
Okay.
Usually it's just crossing state lines is when they want you. If there's transport,
Yes.
is when they want embalming. But a lot of times if you have your person put into the refrigeration system at the funeral home or wherever their body is held, and you have a funeral in an adequate amount of time, with, of course, if it's not an accident type situation or there's no rebuilding
Yes.
of the face or anything like that, you don't get that waxy,
Okay.
embalmed look. So, that's a shroud burial is an option too for that. You can have somebody put into the refrigerator until you have that burial.
Okay. And how long is that? So if you put them into the refrigerator, is that for 24 hours, 48, 72?
Week, 2 weeks.
Oh, so actually a longer. Okay.
Longer period of time. And then there's water burial, of course, too, where you can go out on a boat. You can be put into a biodegradable type container.
Okay.
Like there are like sea turtle type containers. They look like sea turtles, or something. And they're weighted down. So what you do is you are, put into the ocean that way and the body will sink.
Yes.
And then, other animals and things will come eat the body.
So you're giving back to nature.
Yes, you are.
Yes. Okay, so that's the fourth option?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's usually what we're going with now, most of the time. Natural burial, too. There's even in Colorado, the last funeral pyre still exists.
And what's that?
A funeral pyre is you take the body out and you put it on a plank, and there's firewood that's put under it. And the body is cremated in that way. And, the town comes and watches this and has their celebrations.
Have to be at a funeral home, that can
No.
be anywhere.
Yes, that is outdoors. It's not a crematorium. It's just
Okay.
done, naturally outdoors. But, back in the day, there were all kinds of things. There was sky burial,
Sky
in
burial?
some countries, yes, where the body was taken to the top of a cliff and birds came.
Really?
Yes, and came down and scavenged the flesh off the bones.
Okay. And is that throughout days, or is that just like...
That would take weeks, I'm
Weeks,
sure. Yes,
okay,
this was
yes.
many, many years ago. They don't do it anymore. That would be illegal. But, we want to at least let people know about these eco-friendly options.
Yes.
Because we all know that funerals can be very expensive too. And, services as far as funerals, you can have, if you get permitted, you can have a funeral in some public places. You can do a park sometimes, you have to ask the city, but
Okay.
you can also have home funerals where you have